You are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. That's Evo. We are back. It is a Friday night. I am chilling. I do not feel very good. So you might hear me sniffling or clearing my throat quite a bit on this show. But, you know, I'm ready. I'm snuggled up. I got my Ninja Turtles onesie on, and I'm ready to fucking hammer out week 3 because week 2 might have been the worst week of football in the history of fucking football. I'm not quite yet ready to talk about it. We'll get to all the things that happened with the Cleveland Browns. But I am pumped for week 3 because it's a chance for us to improve. We didn't have the greatest week on our picks, both over 500 still, but we got some room to make up little step back from week 1. But Evo, my man, how you doing? You just came back from an awesome trip. You were out on the West Coast playing golf, learning all sorts of shit about UAS drones for anybody who's a layman. How's the week been, man? How's everything going? It's a Friday night. We don't typically do this on a Friday night.
Yeah, man, it's been good. I capped off last weekend with Oktoberfest. Went on a business trip out there to the left coast for a couple different sites, seeing some cool stuff for work. And it was great because it was paid for by the governments, and I got to golf at some cool places, which is always fun. I got back yesterday, a little bit of work today, and then now I'm doing the show, and then I'm going to be heading out after this to go back to another fair here in town because the lady wants to ride some rides, so you got to keep them happy. So we'll be out there doing that before too long.
All right, very nice. Take the lady out, do what she wants. Absolutely always the right answer. My lady also does not feel good. Everybody in the house is starting to not feel good. The kids are, I think, towards the back end, but those are the little assholes that I blame for getting me sick to begin with. Children are awesome. I love them, but they break all your stuff and they carry filthy diseases because they're wild savages. But without anything else, man, I got nothing to really go over. We have U Sports. Graydon's continuing to play football. His team's not very good, and their coaches they make interesting decisions throughout the game. It's really all I can say without getting too crazy. I just don't understand it. Their defensive backs don't know what coverage they're supposed to be playing. So one person's playing man, one person's playing zone. We found that out. That was cool information to learn. But I'm not gonna do it. I'm not. So let's move on to some fun talk about sports. You got anything U Sports wise? Are we ready to start diving into the NFL in week 3?
No, I'm ready for NFL, baby.
All right. Let's fucking do this. So before we start talking about, the games that are coming up, let's have a nice little recap of games that have happened. So Thursday night came, it went. We put out our picks. We decided that we were both going to be on the 49ers. You went with the money line. I was a little more ballsy. I decided to drop the 10.5 points for the Niners. Both bets hit. Both bets are good. Because the Giants stink and the 49ers are really fucking good. They are finding different ways to beat you every goddamn week. Brandon Ayuk goes off in week 1 along with Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey has another good game, but then we see George Kittle get more involved. This offense is incredibly fucking dynamic, and Brock Purdy does not have to do a ton to be exactly what they need, but he's still throwing for almost 300 yards. However, we're hearing a lot of noise. Well, if everybody else had all these weapons, they'd be doing much more. Like, who gives a shit? Does that matter? Are we pumped about Brock Purdy? I know Joe Rockstar is probably pumped about Brock Purdy.
Look, I'm gonna be real. They have a lot of talent on the offense, whether it's Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey, or Kittle, and then obviously a strong offensive line with Trent Williams and whatnot. But it's not like we can't find other situations in the NFL where they have a star-studded side like that. The Eagles, for instance, have young up-and-comer Jalen Hurts. He's great on the ground game. They've got a good backfield, maybe not like one standout guy, but overall that is a strong backfield. They've got Goddard. they've got multiple good receivers in AJ Brown and
There you go.
and Devonta Smith, and they're solid, kind of all over the place on offense, but you're not seeing it click there. And Brock Purdy, I mean, he doesn't look like the greatest thing since sliced bread. He looks professional, very good. Like, it's what they had hoped from Jimmy Garoppolo was game management, make smart decisions, good throws, off schedule stuff, but you're not expected to go out there and beat the world. And Jimmy just couldn't stay healthy. And Brock has had the one major injury now, but he's not beholden to being injury prone because he hasn't played a ton yet. I don't think we
put that on him yet.
No. And he's kind of looked fantastic in the role that he is supposed to be doing. And that is allowing San Francisco to be very successful. And they've always had a strong defense. Their defense probably has a bit of a drop off this year, though. And that could be, Miko Ryan's leaving and things like that, some other free agents being, moved around, but it's still incredible the way that this team has been able to be built and coached. And that is why we have Shanahan and Lynch both receiving big contract extensions today. They're able to go out there and do stuff where it's not a fuck these picks mentality like the Rams are doing, but they are being a little bit more cavalier to go out there and get a Christian McCaffrey, to trade up to get a Trey Lance, trade to get Jimmy Garoppolo a couple years ago. They're making moves in order to bring in, high reward, but also risky guys, because McCaffrey didn't come without his risks. He was injury prone,
Absolutely.
Elite running back, but injury prone. Garoppolo, you only saw a little bit of him with the Patriots, and it was good, but you just don't know because it's the Patriots. And we've seen, Matt Castle go on and be just, kind of whatever, an average quarterback. But, people thought that he could be the next thing. And then Trey Lance, obviously, when you bank that high on a quarterback in the first round, especially one who hasn't played in a long time and played at a lower division or anything, it's a gamble. It was a high-risk gamble. Despite all of it, they're still able to develop the guys that they do have there, build a super solid team, and overcome any of their missteps. It's just a credit to the coaching and the GM staff there, the front office. And that's why those guys are getting those extensions and why this team looks so damn good right now.
Yeah, that entire front office has done an exceptional job, with the exception of probably the Trey Lance pick. But you know what they didn't do? They were not beholden to that pick. They did not ride that out and continue to make a bad decision worse. They just moved off of it, which we have talked about in the past. Like, we wish more our organizations would do this. Like, if you make a mistake, just fucking say you made a mistake and let's fix it and move the fuck on.
And they still were able to get some compensation for him.
Exactly.
If they had moved him earlier,
Browns are very
probably
much
more
in that situation.
Yeah,
for sure more.
Yeah. You bring up the Browns. That was going to be a question for you today. Is I'm hearing more rumblings of, should they have gotten rid of Baker?
The answer is no. Because you know what I got? I got a less accurate, more athletic Baker Mayfield back there right now for 8 times the pay, I want to say, is what it is.
That's the thing, is that Baker was, sometimes loved, sometimes not liked out there. But you've got a guy that also people are having to, I don't want to say come up with excuses to like, but if you look at him as a player in his past, it was great. But it's right now the play is just
not
mediocre at
all.
best. And the paycheck that you are paying and the amount that you gave up to get him there is a lot. So the cost reward benefit analysis of this whole thing does kind of lean towards they should have kept Baker, because in Baker's good years, he was pretty good there with a solid team around him. And there's this really solid team out there in Cleveland right now, minus running back position, having lost a great one there, but
I'm not ready for it.
Now a quarterback, still it seems like a quarterback away from a very deep run. And then Deshaun's just kind of fumbling the bag right now.
Yeah. The state of Browns Twitter is absolute fucking shambles. It is incredibly divided. Most people are on the Deshaun is not performing the way he should perform. but you still have a segment that is blaming Stefanski and all of that. And that is what's going to happen is Stefanski is going to pay the price with his job if this does not turn around expeditiously. And this is the week where that's going to happen, especially when we talk about some of the numbers when we get into picking our games. Deshaun has to absolutely ball out this week. There is no excuse this week. We're playing the fucking Titans.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think that those two things are mutually exclusive. Deshaun is not playing up to his contract. It doesn't matter if he's got bad coaching. He is not playing up to his contract. What he's putting out on the field isn't just a schematic issue. It is him not performing like he used to. And on the flip side, while I love Stefanski, like he is not calling the best games either. You know,
he's not.
There's been issues for a while. Like the potential for him to be really good is there. He won Coach of the Year, right? A couple years ago.
He did.
Like there's a lot of potential there. He's got a great pedigree, but he hasn't made the best out of all of it. You know, maybe the spot is too big for him, and OC or something like that is a better spot for him. And at the end of the day, I do think that if you guys do not make the playoffs or you make a short run in the playoffs, it probably will be the end of Stefanski there in Cleveland.
Yeah, it will be the end of Stefanski before it will be the end of Deshaun Watson if the season does not go the way it planned. And then after that, they're going to have to start looking for outs of this Deshaun contract if we do not see a marked improvement. But we're still a little ways away from that. This is still a long season. I'm not ready to give up on him yet, but I have not ever been in on the Deshaun trade. From the moment that the news hit and we did that podcast, I mean, I even remember I wasn't even living in my own house. We were in the middle of moving. We were at Lacey and Matt's old house in Arizona. And I lost my shit. We did a podcast like that fucking day, and I was furious because we gave up way too much for a guy that we don't know if he's going to be any good at football because he's missed so much time. And now here we are having a conversation 2 years almost later that, hey, he's not that good. We paid way too much because it's all rust. There's no more rust. He's just not playing well because, and I think it has a lot to do with how much time he missed. So,
yeah,
we are where we are.
We are where we are. But with that, we both got the picks right for Thursday night's game. Are you ready to move on to rest of this week's picks? Or you want to go over last week's picks? Because I didn't feel like we did well, but I didn't actually look. And you saying that, we both didn't do great. Above 500, I'm still happy about that. And week one, we fucking killed it. So to match that again, it would be difficult. So it's going to obviously look a little bit not as great. Expected, but
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, still not a terrible week by a lot of standards, but I mean, I think we're starting to hold ourselves to a little bit higher standard.
Sure.
All right, here. So let's see. Kind of hard to see, but this is what we got for the week. So I went 8-7-1. Evo 9-6-1. So on the season, I am 19-12-1. Evo, you are 22-9-1. And we each got a push this week. Your push was because you had the early line on the Vikings. I got that extra half a point. And then my push came because Sean McVay is an absolute douchebag and kicked a completely fucking worthless field goal with 3 seconds left in the game. So the 49ers, pushed it. They won by 7. I know we just talked about the Niners. They won this week by 10.5. Last week, though, I had them -7. McVay kicks a completely worthless field goal, gets the push. I get a fucking push. So I'm 8-7-1, 9-6-1. Not terrible, not great, but we can't ask for 11-5, 13-3 every week, can we? I mean, we would hope.
And that's for me, that's still a 55%. So I'm happy that we were able to achieve that because that's definitely to me, the low watermark of what I really want to shoot for is that 55%. Right.
Yeah. Anything above 55 is great, but 55 is, you got to hit at least that. But not bad. We're off to a good start this week with the 49ers. So let's start diving into the rest of the picks for the week.
Alrighty, so we're going to skip our two games, which are both happening early Sunday morning. We'll move on to the Falcons and the Lions being played in Detroit. The line currently is Detroit -3, over under of 46.
Yeah, so I really like the Lions in this one. I thought the Lions should have won last week. They had multiple opportunities, I felt like. And the fact that Jahmyr Gibbs is now going to be continued to featured more and more in this offense as they go is going to be a great thing because he's easily their most explosive piece in the backfield. He might be the most explosive piece on their entire offense with what he can do. So I like the Lions to win this week. The 3 I don't necessarily love because I'd hate pushes. That's why I try to stay away from those. I got a fucking push last week because of that. Same with you. But I think the Lions are more than a field goal better than the Falcons. I think they're probably a touchdown better than the Falcons. So I'm going to go Lions -3 this week. And I expect them to win by 7-10.
All right. And I'm kind of in the same boat. I think the Lions should be better than -3. The Lions, obviously, super strong offense, both run and pass game. The question mark is on defense, and it is more with the pass defense. On the flip side, the Falcons have a strong run game, but their pass game is where it's more questionable. Now, Des Ridder versus the Packers last week looked pretty decent and was able to lead that team to a win, which was great. And they used him in the passing game. So we saw a lot of Drake London getting involved in everything as well. But week in and week out, I don't know if that's going to be a thing. I think that's a little bit more of a question mark on the Packers defense. The Lions defense, I think, will be able to hold up a little bit more stout against that pass. Bijan is looking fantastic. I might have been wrong with the Jahmyr Gibbs offensive rookie of the year there because the way that Bijan is playing, he is looking like the real deal right now.
Did you see that video from the overhead of Bijan?
Yes, I actually watched that game, and I saw the cut up of that later. The dude is pretty electric.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, I do think that the Lions will win this one. I do think that they'll probably win by more than 3, but because we are still feeling these teams out, I think the Lions should win. And so I'm just going to go with the money line Lions on this one because it is that 3 points. If this was 2.5, yes. If this was even, I'd hate to say it, 3.5, I probably would feel better about that. It's the push that scared me a little bit there with the 3 points because I do think that this is a touchdown better team at a minimum.
Yeah, same. All right. What's our next game, brother?
All right, next one. We have the Saints and the Packers being played in Lambeau, Green Bay. The line is Green Bay -1, over under of 42.5.
Whew. So two teams that are a little bit better maybe than we thought, but I don't know if they're that much better. The Saints being 2-0 right now is great for them, but wildly unexpected. Green Bay looks like they can be really good. And then you throw in some of the stats like Green Bay after a loss under LaFleur, they're really fucking good. 13-4-1 against the spread against under LaFleur after a loss. So that's fantastic. And with a 1-point game, to me, feels like who do you think is going to win? The points really don't matter. I think I'm going to lean towards the home team here. I'm going to go with the Packers, and I'm going to go with the -1. I mean, to me, that's inconsequential. I think that's a drop in the bucket. So I'm going Packers -1. If I get a push on that, I'll be fucking furious.
All right. And for me, this is, again, a Saints team that they barely beat Tennessee 16-15, and they beat Carolina, which is a team that is also going through it right now because they are transitioning, new coach, very young team, new quarterback that's not going to be playing this week, by the way, but we'll get to that with the Carolina game. Green Bay, Love has looked adequate. We saw it last week against the Falcons, though, that Green Bay team doesn't have the clutch gene like they used to. All right. The magic type stuff that you would see from them, the plays that would kind of seem to fall whatever way Aaron Rodgers' side was on. whether that's officiating or whatever, it's just not there anymore. You do have some interesting guys out there. Jaden Reed, I believe, is new receiver for them. He's actually looking pretty solid. Dobbs is looking like, Dobbs, where he's potential to be a number 2 in the future. And Watson, again, I don't know if these guys are even, Watson didn't play last week, so I don't even know if he's going to be available. The other guy that's a question mark for Aaron Jones at running back, he practiced for the first time today, so in limited fashion. So him playing or not could make a bit of a difference there. But overall, I think that the Packers have had a little bit of a tougher road maybe so far. I mean, I guess not. It's been the Bears and the Falcons. And they've only been able to get one win out of it. It's tough. You kind of got to go with the home team on this one, though. I don't expect it to be a high scoring game.
No.
The
line was 39.5, right?
42 and
fucking
a half.
Low.
Okay. So yeah, I would expect, but I'm shooting for right about 40 to 39 and a half. Is my expectation for that over under. So I'm probably leaning towards the under on this one, but in the end, I'm going to pick the Packers. I'm going to just do a money line on the Packers. I'm not going to have them give up any points because both of these teams are kind of moderate to average at best, and they haven't been playing the strongest competition. So it's tough to see what they'll be like in an actual duke it out type fight.
That's very, very true.
All right. Next up, we have the Broncos and the Dolphins being played in Miami. The line is Miami minus 6.5, over under of 48.
So for me, this one's pretty simple, and it's the Dolphins. And I'm going to drop the points again. I'm getting kind of wild this week, but the Dolphins are easily a touchdown better than the Broncos. And I think it's a little disrespectful to the Dolphins that this is only the spread. They are so much better as a overall team. Now the Broncos, they looked like that they were going to come out and maybe get a solid win. Dude, is this team just fucking cursed now? Like Russell they don't got it no more.
I don't know. So look, Russ has looked better. He's looked better. The offense has looked better.
He is not.
He doesn't look like Russell Wilson of old.
No,
Sean Payton is pulling something out of him, and maybe that is maybe what we are seeing is Russ still being bad. And I honestly haven't watched. Last year, his arm looked toast. This year, I don't know if his arm looks toast, but at least schematically, the offense and that team is being run better. I think there's a lot of internal strife in there. I mean, you have Rex Ryan coming out, who interviewed for the DC job. Vance Joseph got the job. They brought him back, and Rex Ryan is out there being like, hey, the offense isn't the problem here on this team. It's the defense. The defense is not holding up like they should with all that talent out there. And there's something to be said about that. The defense is not playing as well as you would expect them to. No. But I mean, the offense isn't looking great either. And when you have Sean Payton kind of calling out their guy and Russ Wilson constantly, I think that there's still that internal struggle. This is not Sean Payton's quarterback. And so I think until he gets,
you cut out there for a second, bro, Chacho.
I don't think that Sean Payton is going to sing any praise towards Russell Wilson because he is not his quarterback. That is not Sean Payton's team yet. It has not got the head on that team yet that he wants, which is the quarterback position. That's why we think that Sean Payton really likes Kyler Murray. That's going to be someone that he's looking for, if not going after one of these rookies, because it looks like we're going to have a pretty strong rookie class again this year of quarterbacks. So all that being said, Dolphins are absolutely the better team here by probably more than a touchdown. But they are having, this is being played in Miami. God damn it.
It's in Miami. It's in Miami. The fucking Dolphins might score enough points to hit the over themselves. That's how good and electrifying that fucking offense has been. I am taking the Dolphins to cover minus 6.5. No questions.
Let me check something real quick here. Yes, Dolphins. I want to take the Dolphins money line because that's a safe bet, and I want to get back on track. But I'm going to take the Dolphins minus the points on this one. Probably the money is I'm sure better with that one. But look, they last week they beat the Patriots by 7 points. The Patriots are a better team than the Broncos right now, despite not being a great team, especially on offense. The Dolphins are a much better team. They're playing at home. It's going to be rocking out there for the Dolphins. I believe that -6.5, they absolutely should be able to do that.
So Dolphins -6.5 for you as well?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have the Patriots and the Jets being played in New Jersey. The line is New England -2.5, over under of 36. And I believe I posted this on the Lineman Lounge Facebook page today, comment saying that Mac Wilson is just as bad as, or Mac Jones is just as bad as Zach Wilson. Well, that was an interesting way to.
They could, Wilson. Same thing. Mac Wilson.
Yeah. They're not
Jones,
that great.
Who gives a shit?
These are two offenses that are relatively anemic. The difference is that the Jets actually have a lot of good skill players on that offense with a bad offensive line, and the Patriots have a bunch of kind of average so-so guys outside of Ramondre Stevenson, also with a bad quarterback though. I'm not sure if they're going to have their left tackle back or if Vidarian Lowe is going to be starting for the Patriots or not. That's Vidarian Lowe, former Viking Vidarian Lowe that we traded over to him this preseason. I was kind of sad to see him go because he looked like he had a future, at least as a backup, a solid backup. I don't know, man. This is a tough one for me because I don't like both these squads.
I know where I'm going. And this is the beginning of the end of Zach Wilson's career. It's right here. He has to perform. He absolutely has to perform. He needed to perform last week to prove to the Jets fans that all hope was not lost when Aaron Rodgers went down. And he rewarded Jets fans by going out and throwing 3 fucking interceptions. 3 bad interceptions. And now he's going to go up against Bill Belichick-led defense in a divisional game. I have no faith in Zach Wilson whatsoever. If they don't have a backup quarterback on the standby, ready to come in and relieve him, they have no chance of winning this fucking game. I do not like the Patriots as a team. I do not think they are very good. So I will not drop the points, but there's no way I'm betting on the Jets. Not with fucking Zach Wilson. Patriots, money line, easy. He has shown no improvement whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me. I'm going to go Patriots money line as well because Bill Belichick always seems to have the Jets number, but he specifically seems to have Mac Wilson's number. Like that.
Mac Wilson.
Yeah, I'm going to just start calling him that.
It's going to start different names.
Mac Wilson and Zach Jones. But he seems to have Zach Wilson's number.
And Zach Morris Wilson has and not fucking. Great.
So, yeah, I was going to take the Jets money line on this one, but no, I think that unfortunately this is going to continue to push a storyline here of the Jets needing to trade for Kirk Cousins, which I keep on seeing more and more steam about. We actually have former Vikings players coming out saying they need to do that. They need a tank for Caleb Williams.
I've seen it as well.
I now have to question, would I like to have Caleb Williams on my team? Yes. Can we?
Are you willing to? No.
Can we out tank the Cards? I don't know.
No.
Because and we'll get to it with my Vikings team. I think that we're way better than an 0-2 team. But
agreed.
That being said, I think that the Jets losing this game is going to push that narrative forward, and we're going to really listening to it next week, depending on how the Vikings do. But I will go Patriots money line and call it a day there. If this was Patriots plus 2.5, I would definitely take that. But,
I would take Patriots plus the points on a heartbeat. The only reason they're not favored is because Zach Wilson's starting at fucking quarterback.
Yeah. All righty. Next game, Bills and the Commanders being played in Landover, Maryland. The line is Buffalo -6, over under of 42.5.
So for me, the Bills have been they were much better last week, but I'm still not. They're not exactly what I was hoping to see all the way. Like the Bills should bury people. Now they had a really good. Who the fuck did they play last week? Was it again? Because they beat the shit out of whoever it was.
The Raiders.
The Raiders, yeah. I mean, but this is the Raiders. Like, yeah. So I don't necessarily believe that are we going to see that every week from the Bills, or am I going to get Josh Allen from week 1? I like the way this Commanders team is moving. I like Sam Howell. He's actually shown that he's pretty capable late in games to keep games fairly close, if not go out and fucking win them in games that they probably have no business winning. So I like that little clutch gene there for Sam Howell. The defense isn't bad. I still think the Bills are a far superior team, but I'm not going to drop the points on this one. I'm going to take the Bills money line here, especially playing down there and fucking that awful stadium. There is absolutely no telling what the hell is going to happen. Staying away from it. FedEx Field is a goddamn travesty. It might be the second worst field in all of sports behind what the hell's the one in the Jets and the Giants play at?
East Rutherford, MetLife or something.
Yeah, MetLife, whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, that's worse. But so I'm going Bills money line.
Alrighty. I do think that this Washington team is scrappy. I think that their defense is better than we're being led to see it, even though they did give up over 30 points last week to Denver, which was surprising. But I like the way that their offense is working right now. I like the way that Brian Robinson is running the ball. Sam Howell is playing pretty well. You know, he is, I guess you could say he's acting like a Brock Purdy out there, a guy that you didn't expect to do a whole lot, but he is managing the team well and making throws where he needs to. The enemy is doing a lot of good out there as the OC for this offense. And you do have some decent offensive weapons out there at receiver. The Bills, I do like to probably win this game, but I think this might be closer because we're going to probably see this oscillation from the Bills until they are really able to kind of hit their stride, or Zach Wilson. God damn, I cannot say the quarterback's correct today. Josh Allen. Until
they
Josh
weren't all
Allen
just
is able to
regular
show us,
ass white people names. Maybe it wouldn't be so hard. It would be easier to not confuse them.
I don't know, man, but Josh Allen has to show me some consistency before I really am able to get on board. Last week, it was a resounding yes for me. Bills beating the Raiders because the Raiders are just not a good team. The Commanders are a much more average to, decent in some areas style team. And that's why I think that they're going to have a tougher time here. We could see this oscillation until Josh Allen is able to put up consistency versus, any type of team out there. I'm not really willing to trust yet that they're ready to go. I'm going to actually take the Commanders plus the points here. I think that this could be a much closer game. So Commanders plus the 6 for me.
I was not expecting the Commanders plus the 6, but I respect it.
We'll see. All right. Next up, we got the Texans and Jaguars being played in Jacksonville. The line is Jacksonville -8, over under of 44.
So I like Jacksonville in this game. Jacksonville's really good. The Texans haven't kept a game close with anybody yet so far. They've been covered every game of the 2 games this season. But you know what? The Jags also don't fucking cover, like, at all.
And 8 points is a lot.
8 points is a lot. Listen, and I really liked some of the things I saw out of that Texans team last week. CJ Stroud can fucking sling it, bro. He might be the most capable, like, quarterback right now, like thrower of the ball out of this rookie class. Something we talked about during the draft process, that we liked him to have an easier transition. But I just can't pick the Texans to win. You know what? I'm going to take the Texans to cover. I know I think the Jags are going to win this game. I'm going to take the Jags to the Texans to cover here, plus the 8 points.
All righty. I'm just going to take the Jags money line on this one. I do like the Jags as a better team here, but again, I did like what I saw out of the Texans last week. In a loss to the Colts, it was a game that felt to me like should have been much closer than it was, especially once Anthony Richardson went out. I honestly thought that the game was neck and neck, and it wasn't score-wise, and that's probably because of what Anthony Richardson was able to put up in the beginning of the game. Anthony Richardson, again, we'll get to this here with our next game that we're going to go over, but probably not playing. I believe he's still in concussion protocol. But Jaguars, I do like them as the better team. I do not like the 8 points, though, because I don't feel like they're a team that's just blowing other teams out right now. They can win, and they can win a lot of games, but they're going to keep it probably within 7 points or so. So Jacksonville -8, that is too much. I'm just taking the Jacksonville Jaguars money line. They should win this game.
All right.
And that brings us to our next game. It is Colts and Ravens being played in Baltimore. The line is Baltimore -8, over under of 44. Like I said, Anthony Richardson, beginning of the game last week, looked fantastic, was running all over the place, ends up getting the concussion. All right. He is probably not playing. I believe he's been ruled out, but I'm not 100% positive. It's still in concussion
I'm not sure
protocol.
if he's ruled out or not.
But then you flip over to the other side with this Ravens team. They have 7 starters that are going to be out. You have Odell Beckham Jr., Ronnie Stanley, Tyler Linderbaum, Justice Hill at running back, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams at safety, and outside linebacker Odafe Owe. All guys that are expected to be starters or big-time role players not playing in this game. That's a lot of dudes off of this Ravens team that aren't going to be playing. And a Colts team that was able to, yes, beat the Texans, who aren't great, but they were able to do it with Gardner Minshew, who we both love on the show. But he's, we'll say an average backup quarterback or to a good backup quarterback, but not someone that you want out there all the time necessarily.
Right.
So this Colts team, I think, did way better than I expected them to do last week once Richardson went out. And then you have a Ravens team that is also just down a lot of players. They still got Flowers out there, though, and Flowers is looking pretty electric now. Like a awesome pickup there. He reminds me of a Tyreek Hill, just not maybe as straight line fast.
Dude, Zay's got some juice.
Mm-hmm. He's very quick, very shifty, makes guys miss. Fun to watch.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you know which way you're going? Because I like what you're saying. Like the Colts, they got a big win last week. Gardner Minshew's not a bad quarterback, but it's not Anthony Richardson, right? Anthony Richardson did so much for that team early in that game. But the Ravens have a ton of dudes sitting out. But for me, it's the Ravens have not really been that team that's buried people over the last few years. They just haven't. Injuries and other things have popped up consistently. They're 1-6 over the last 3 years when they're favored by 7 or more. So, and they're favored by 8 here. That tells me that they're not good odds to hit the cover. I do think that they are a better team, though. So I am riding the Ravens on the money line. Even though the odds are not great for that, they're -400, but it's the safest thing that I can think of for this play.
Yep. Anthony Richardson is out for this game. You also have center Ryan Kelly out, and Quentin Nelson is questionable. So those are all pretty solid interior offensive line pieces. And you have a Ravens defense that at least their front 7, front 8 are still pretty damn good. I'm going to take the Colts plus the points on this one. I think that it'll be a lot closer. I don't like the Ravens to be blowing them out. I wouldn't touch the Ravens -8. But your pick of the Ravens money line is definitely a smart one and a strong play. I do see no reason why the Ravens shouldn't just win this game. But I'll go with the Colts plus the points because I think that there's a possibility that they could keep this game a lot closer.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have the Panthers and the Seahawks starting our afternoon slate of games. This is going to be played in Seattle, Lumen Field. The line is Seattle -5.5, over under of 42. Panthers are going to be without Bryce Young. They're starting Andy Dalton as their starting quarterback today for this game. So that is not necessarily good or bad. I don't know. I mean, it sucks for that team to not have your rookie quarterback going out there and getting more experience. He's already getting hurt. But I don't know that at this point Bryce Young is necessarily an upgrade over Andy Dalton, and that's not saying Andy Dalton is good or bad.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce is not quite to the point where he is not a veteran. He's got an ability to make some dynamic throws, but he's not going to know the game as well as an Andy Dalton. So I don't know if you would say that Andy is an upgrade or a downgrade. I think that they're two. You're going to see two drastically different teams when you see both of these guys. I think Bryce has more juice to do some extra things, and I don't know that you're going to get that with Andy Dalton. And this is just an awful game if you're a Panthers fan. Your team loses your rookie quarterback, at least for this week, and then you're going to start Andy Dalton, and you're going to travel all the fucking way across the country to do it, to go all the way out to Seattle, where it's a very tough place to play because of the travel. I don't like their chances in this game at all. I believe that the Seahawks should be able to cover this game. I just don't know if I'm willing to take the cover just because they look bad in week 1. They come back, they get a big win, but close win in overtime. Are they going to be good enough? They should be good enough based on, this Panthers team and the travel and how fucking erratic it's going to be with switching out your quarterback. But you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take another spread. I'm going with the Seahawks minus 5.5.
All right. And I'm also going Seahawks minus 5.5. The defense there is decent, but they're going to not be tested so much by the Panthers. The offense, though, for the Seahawks is pretty awesome. They've got a lot of great skill players out there. They're only going to kind of mature and get better, I believe, especially, what you brought up about JSN on the Lineman Lounge page earlier this week. He's got that great short shuttle, and he's starting to show that separation. He's going to get more involved. Playing out there in Seattle, again, like you said, tough place to play for opposing teams. Seattle was able to win last week, and it wasn't overtime, but they were able to win by 6 points last week versus a Lions team that we both think is very good. 5.5 points against a Panthers team that I do not think is that great. I think that they are at best a 500 team, and I do not expect them to reach that mark at all. I think this is more of a 5 to 6 win team this year, probably. I like Seattle in this one. Money line on Seattle would be great, but I am actually going to take Seattle minus the 5.5.
All right.
Next up, we have the Bears and the Chiefs being played in Arrowhead. The line is Kansas City minus 12.5, over under of 48. And I'm just going to say it right now. It is Chiefs money line for me because Chiefs are going to win this game, and I don't like touching the Chiefs spreads. It is tough to do. You're going to start to see someone, I think, in this game pull ahead from the Chiefs as their receiving option outside of Travis Kelce. My money is kind of on Mims. I like what he's been doing out there. I like him as a little more of the wild card. Again, I'm not a big on Kadarius Toney. He had a better week last week than week 1, that's for sure. But I still don't think that he's the guy. And this Bears team is just kind of falling apart. We talked about this a little bit before the show, I believe. But you've got defensive coordinator Alan Williams having the FBI raid his house there for the Bears, and he immediately resigns. We don't know what for yet, but obviously it's not a good situation because if he wasn't in trouble for whatever he was doing, he would just fight this out and stay with the team.
Right.
You also have a bunch of Bears players kind of taking to social media or talking to reporters and basically calling out the coaching staff. Justin Fields asked, why does he look so robotic? And he says, coaching. That's an indictment on Luke Getsy. You have DJ Moore having a Twitter conversation with a defensive player, I believe, that they played against last week, saying they aren't using you right. And he said, I know. I'm paraphrasing here, but do you have players coming out publicly and calling out the coaching staff, which Eberflus has been a good defensive coach. I can't speak to Luke Getsy. I mean, obviously his offense does not look to be working right now with Justin Fields. Bears are just not a good team. They've got some skill players, but nothing seems to be clicking. You watch some of their routes being run by their receivers, and I believe Joe Rockstar brought this up. It looks like they are mirroring one another, and that's not supposed to be happening. You're not supposed to have those two receivers in the same spot running the same route, essentially.
Yeah, I don't understand what they're trying to do on offense because I feel like guys are doing the wrong thing. Because there's no way, as an NFL head coach, you're calling to have two guys run a hook in the same spot. Because that's exactly what happened on numerous occasions. Like one guy covers two, and if that's what you're trying to do on offense, I don't understand what's happening. I want to take the Chiefs minus the points because of the odds, but 12.5 is so fucking much.
Well, this game, if you had to ask me to pick a score for this, it's 36-10. And I'm struggling for the Bears getting to 10. to be honest.
For me, I have a so when these things come out and with the coaching staff, and then there's this internal discourse and everything gets blown up into the media, there's only two things that happen. A team rallies and they start to play better and they give themselves a glimmer of hope that things can get better. We're playing the defending champs and we just played them fairly close. Or they get absolutely fucking slaughtered and a coach gets fired. When these types of things come out, that's what happens. It's too early for a coach to come out, though. I mean, to be fired. So I think that the Bears might have a chance to keep it close. I can't give it the 12.5 on week 3. If we were a couple more weeks into the season and I knew that the Bears were as terrible as they look, yeah, sure. I will drop the points with the Chiefs, who perpetually don't cover. But the Chiefs perpetually don't cover. It's week 3, and there's all this shit in the media. I can only go with the Chiefs money line, even though I kind of really badly want to go and drop the 12.5.
Yeah, and it's not so binary to me. I think that this game should be a blowout. I'm not, for the reasons I said, I'm not willing to take the Chiefs and the points because that's a lot of points, and the Chiefs don't like to cover points for whatever reason. But this game should be 30 to 36 to 10. Like, the Chiefs should be scoring 30 to 36 points, and I expect the Bears to maybe get 10 points out of this. If they go higher than that, I will be surprised. 13 maybe, but I don't expect the Bears to do a whole lot. But I think it's too early to fire a coach at this point, and it wouldn't be Eberflus. It would be Luke Getsy.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like by week 3, it's a little bit early for that. All right. Especially when he's a newer coach there. There is a coach that I'm going to bring up that I think is on the hot seat this week, but it is not in this game. Luke Getsy will get one more week out of it, but I don't think that they get a win. I don't think that the offense looks any better. It is the Chiefs money line for me on this one.
Okay. And I think I know who you're talking about, who's going to be on the hot seat. We'll talk about that probably towards the end of the show.
Yes.
And then, I don't. Now, listen, there are some numbers that could back up the fact that you shouldn't take the Chiefs minus the points. Like, the Bears are 15-3 when they're double-digit underdogs since 2000. That's pretty good. And the Pat Mahomes doesn't cover double digits. He's 8-12 as a double-digit favorite. So, it's tough. I can only go with the money line. So, yeah. But I'm ready to move on to the next one, brother, if you are.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have the Cowboys facing the Cardinals in Glendale. The line for this is 12.5 for the Cowboys, minus 12.5, and an over/under of 43. And this one feels like a line that they could absolutely cover because, again, the Cardinals are kind of shitty. But the Cardinals have played scrappy, especially through the first half of games. So that kind of shakes things up a little bit. It is less about the Cowboys not being able to cover and more about the Cardinals playing way better than they should in the first half of games. That being said, the Cowboys did just have 2 important players go down. You've got Trevon Diggs going down with an ACL for the year. And then you also have, I believe it was Connor McGovern, interior offensive lineman, going down with a hamstring injury, probably at least for this game, or going to IR for a little bit. Either way, the Cowboys just lost a couple people there. They are a much better team. I wouldn't call them the class of the NFC at this point. That solely lies with the 49ers. But the Cowboys are definitely a solid team, despite, they've played against 2 pretty bad teams. Yes, the Jets have a good defense, but their offense is led by Zach Mac Jones Wilson. So it is the Cardinals. We talked about this last week, and in my little after the game, first slate of game recap, it seems like it's major league over here. You have a group of guys, the coach and the team are obviously going to be playing for their jobs, but right. It is a very poorly built team, and sooner or later that's going to fall apart. The Giants shouldn't have been happy last week with the way that they won that game because it never should have come to that. They should have been beating that team, even though the Giants weren't great from the get-go. They should have been beating the Cardinals way more than they were. The Cardinals are not a good team, but they are scrappy for whatever reason. And the 12.5, I still feel like the Cowboys should do, but it's Cowboys money line for me on this one. I'm not willing to take that big of a spread yet. Cardinals fans, don't get your hopes up. It is still a bad team. It's not going to work out in the long run. And I see no way of them keeping it close despite a couple Cowboys injuries in this game.
Yeah, so I'm going to go Cowboys money line as well for basically everything that you just said. And the Cardinals have been double-digit underdogs both games prior to this as well, right? Or right there on the cusp of it.
I don't know if they were double digits last week against the Giants because the Giants looked so bad in week 1.
Okay. But they have been probably at least 6.5 though, right? On the Giants. What the hell was it? Let's see if I can
would hope so.
We both took the Giants money line. So, but they have found ways to fucking keep games close. So I would imagine they're going to listen. I like what Dobbs is doing. He's finding a way to be efficient in that offense. But as somebody who's watched him play, I don't know how long we can keep that up for. They're doing a really good job of finding ways to score, especially in the first half. But everything falls apart in the second half. It's like they forget that they're like, oh yeah, we were supposed to lose this game. Remember, we're tanking, so we can get rid of Kyler Murray. So I think that they have the capability to keep this close. I agree with you. The Cowboys should fucking blow out the Cardinals, but I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm going Cowboys money line. I got to. 12.5. Not on week 3. I can't talk myself into the Chiefs doing it to the fucking Bears. Then I can't talk myself in the Cowboys doing it to the Cardinals.
Now, Cardinals fans, if you want some semblance of hope for the future, and I don't know that this is completely going to help their future, but James Conner has been a solid fantasy producer so far this year. So there's that. Also, on the defensive side, I like Nick Rollis as the defensive coordinator. I actually think that he runs a pretty good system out there, and that it's not Gannon. It is Nick Rollis, who is a dude that the players can get behind. Former linebacker in the NFL as well, Nick Rollis. I like Nick Rollis there as the defensive coordinator, but again, I think Gannon is probably done after this year. I think that he was that Manchurian candidate of a coach brought in to fail. And so I don't know, you bring in a new coach. I don't know that Rollis will stick around, but for next season's coaching hiring cycle, I think Nick Rollis is going to be someone that you would benefit from having him on your coaching staff. So a storyline there to watch for Cardinals fans to see how he does the rest of the year. All right. Last game for Sunday. We have our Sunday night game, the Steelers and the Raiders. Trash Bowl being played out in Vegas. The line is Vegas minus 2.5, over under of 43.
I have no idea. I really don't on this game because the Raiders have looked absolutely fucking terrible. But they're favored in this game. I don't understand why they're favored. Like their running game has not got going at all. We saw a little bit of this at the start of last year as well before they finally found a way to get things kind of going. And the Steelers' offense is absolutely fucking atrocious. They gained negative yards in the fourth quarter against the Browns. Now, don't get me wrong. They found a way to win that fucking game, which we'll talk about. But their offense is absolutely atrocious. Their defense, however, is very fucking good. I cannot see how the Raiders are favored in this game, other than the fact that they're the home team. I'm not gonna pick against Mike Tomlin when it comes to a game like this. I'm gonna take the Steelers and I'm gonna take the points plus the 2.5.
All right. I'm going to take the Raiders money line. I think that they win this one. It is a home game. I don't expect to see another stat line from Josh Jacobs like that for the rest of the year. 2 rushes, -9 yards. Not going to happen. Or was it 9 rushes, -2 yards? Either way, he had negative yards on all his rushes.
Negative yards.
And they did not go double digits in the rushes. So I don't expect to see that again from Josh Jacobs. I do like the offensive talent that is out there for the Raiders. Better than what the Steelers have on their offense. So I think that the Raiders, again, Steelers defense is pretty solid. But both these teams are pretty bad. I just like if we're going offense versus offense, the Raiders have a better offense, and that means that they're going to score more points. in my head. That's how I am locking it down in my head. So Raiders money line. I don't know if they'll beat them by 2.5. That's a rough one. Najee Harris, dog shit.
Hot
Kenny
garbage.
Pickett, dog
It's
shit.
okay. His backup is already if you're in our fantasy league, don't go bother looking for him. I fucking drafted him with my last pick because I knew. Najee's trash. Jalen Warren will be getting a lot of carries at some point because he looked more explosive in every facet when we were
friend
playing.
Of the show, Wes, who's a Pittsburgh fan, he was banging the table on him in the preseason saying Warren's the guy. He looks just way more like a professional running back. So other note here beyond me saying that the Raiders will go win money line. We have a receiver out there for Oakland that is not really being used in Hunter Renfrow. All right. And this is a guy that in past years, we saw him as a competent number 3 to number 2 type wide receiver, and he's not really getting much play out there. Expect him to be a guy that if this Raiders team keeps on having issues, he could be a good trade candidate for a team. The Raiders could get some good compensation back for him, in a 4th round pick, maybe a 3rd round pick. But I think Renfrow could still be very good. He's a guy, quite honestly, I want the Bills to go out and get. I want them to get another receiver, and I think that Renfrow to the Bills would be very solid.
It makes sense. I can see that. I think there might be some other teams that, like the Chiefs, but the Raiders will absolutely never trade it within the division.
Right. But either way, I would think that he's someone that could get moved before the trade deadline. All right. Monday night, we have 2 games again. First game up is the Eagles and the Buccaneers being played in Tampa, Florida.
Why are we doing this, by the way? Why are we doing 2 fucking Monday night games? Why? It's annoying. It's fucking annoying.
Spread things out.
Especially give me an extra Sunday night game.
Look, when they're stacked like this, that's what pisses me off. If you want to do 2 Monday night games, I'm okay with it.
Give me one early and one later.
Time. Yeah, don't have them going at the same time. That's bullshit.
Yeah,
because I couldn't keep track of both games on Monday. It wasn't the fact that I was having a steak and a margarita and feeling myself out in the West Coast. It was that there was 2 games going on and I couldn't keep track of both at the same time. But either way, Eagles and Buccaneers being played in Tampa. The line is Philly -5, over under of 45. And I actually think that this could be an interesting, good game here.
This will be very interesting. So I like the Eagles in this game, and I like them by a touchdown, but I'm not willing to give that up because the Buccaneers have actually looked pretty goddamn good on the defensive side of the ball. And the Eagles have not really got going on offense yet. So an improved Buccaneers defense that I did not expect against a Philly team that has not really done anything yet is an interesting dynamic. And it's going to be hard. I'm rooting for Baker. I want Baker to perform well. It also kind of shows Browns fans and maybe Browns management that you fucked up. So maybe they'll do the smart thing and fix the problem rather than ride out the problem until it takes down everybody. I don't think that's going to happen. But the Eagles are, I think, a better team. Their defense is really good. Their defensive line is fantastic and causes a lot of pressure. Baker struggles when he's under pressure. So I'm going to go Eagles, but on the money line. I'm not going to give up the points here.
So this is the interesting stat here is that right now, quarterbacks under pressure, Baker Mayfield in the NFL has the best completion percentage for quarterbacks under pressure. I did not expect that.
That is not a common thing that I believe that you can expect from Baker Mayfield.
No, and we are only 2 games in, but he has been getting pressured a lot. Now, this kind of
because everybody knows that Baker's not good under pressure.
Yeah, but maybe under this Canales offense, it's just working out for him a little bit better. I don't know. Maybe something has finally clicked because that Buccaneers offensive line is not that great. But this is the thing is I think that the Vikings could have and should have beaten the Buccaneers in week 1 had they not turned over the ball so goddamn much. Baker looked bad in the first half and good in the second half. Baker looked pretty decent last week too. He was going up against a Bears team that was not very good, and he should have looked good against them. But he actually looked a little bit better than I was expecting. This is a Buccaneers team that the offense is kind of clicking a little bit. They haven't gone up against a super strong defense yet. And an Eagles team that has just not looked good for whatever reason. Like, they are supremely talented and they just have not looked good. Something looks off, specifically on the offense to me with that Eagles team. The only success that they really had against the Vikings last week was running the ball. And once they established that run, Brian Flores started sending 10 guys in the box to defend that run, saying, okay, you need to pass against us now. And when they, were going against no one doing pass defense, of course, they're going to be able to find some completions. I don't know that the offensive system is working out there for the Eagles right now. I believe their offensive coordinator, last name Johnson, I'm not sure if that's going to work out. They do not seem like the same team that we are seeing, at least schematically on offense. The defense is still good, not great, but good. They've lost Avonte Maddox for the year. I think that this game could actually be a lot closer. I'm going to take the Bucks plus the points. I got a couple Bucks fans who are quietly thinking that they actually have a chance in this game, and I think that they probably do. I mean, it's a home game on Monday night. This Eagles team is supremely talented. This Eagles team should beat the Bucks, but they are not playing very well, and the Bucks are actually playing decent. Baker is playing decent. So right now I'm going to ride the hot hand with this. I think the Eagles will probably win, but I'll take the Bucks plus the points.
Bucks plus the points. All right. Baker getting a little love on the show today as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then our second Monday night game, we have the Rams and the Bengals being played in Cincinnati. Line is Cincinnati -3, over under a 43.5. And as of right now, Joe Burrow is still day to day. Not sure where he's going to be. And you have a Rams team being led by Puka Nacua, a fun household name out of BYU. The dude is on pace to put up like 200 receptions this year. He's looked fantastic these first 2 weeks. It's going to be real interesting when you get Cooper Kupp back there, because he's playing the Cooper Kupp role and he's playing it really damn well. To have two of those guys out there, it will be really interesting for the Rams. But where are you at in this game, Mike?
I don't believe that Joe Burrow is going to play, is where I'm at. I don't think that he's been Joe Burrow of old with the calf injury. I think if they're smart, they should sit him and they should try to win this game without having him there. I don't think that they're good enough to do that, though. I am straight up taking the Rams. I'm taking the Rams money line. I'm going to get plus 118 odds, so they're not spectacular, but the Rams have been better than we thought that they would be. Joe Burrow has not been who he has needed to be. He is still banged up. That offense has not clicked yet. I'm taking the Rams on the money line as my upset, and that's going to – I took some interesting plays here. So I gave up quite a few spreads, but this one, underdog getting a win. Give me the Rams.
What are the odds for the Rams plus the points in this one?
I want to say they're minus 110. They should be minus 110, but I do not have it currently up in front of me.
All right. Well, this is an interesting one, and it really hinges to me on Joe Burrow playing or not. That's the downside of us making these picks as early as we are, is because we won't know. If we were doing the show tomorrow, we would probably know whether or not Burrow's playing or not. Not knowing whether or not he's going to be out there, that makes it difficult. You are right. Burrow has not looked good, and I believe that this calf injury is definitely a big part of the problem. And the smart move would be to say, hey, if we're going to take these L's, take it now, and let Burrow get healthy. But also, when you're 0-2, we talked about this, last week with my Vikings dropping that Thursday night game. 0-2 teams have a 10% or just under 10% chance of making the playoffs. And the Bengals are one of the teams that did that last year because they were 0-2. But you got to get back on the horse, and you got to get back on the horse quick. And I think that if Burrow has any capability of playing, they're going to put him out there. Right now, their primary backup, the only backup on that Bengals team, is Jake Browning, because Will Grier, their third quarterback on the practice squad, just got signed. So Jake Browning, former Vikings, like 7th round pick Jake Browning out of Washington, a Husky, a guy that I kind of like, but I
Got a
don't
cannon
like
of
him
an
even
arm.
as, yeah, he's a third stringer to me. The fact that he's the backup there is surprising. I don't trust him to go out there and lead a competent game, even with the receiving talent that the Bengals have. The Rams, on the other hand, have way outperformed expectations so far, especially Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Skoranek, those guys out there. They're looking all right. Stetson Bennett away from the team for unknown reasons. People believe it's because he has a drinking problem. Yeah. So not a factor, just fun to kind of inject that storyline out there.
I mean, he's fucking Van Wilder.
Pretty much. Yeah.
He is in college for so fucking long.
But for me, I think that they will probably try to trot Joe Burrow out there.
Who has been upgraded to limited. He was limited today. It's an upgrade. It's his first practice of the week. That came out 2 hours ago.
He's probably got to be talking to, Patrick Mahomes' trainers or whatever, who were able to work magic on his leg for the Super Bowl. If he's wanting to go out there, at least I would. I'm going to take the Bengals money line on this one. I feel like the Bengals are a better team. I feel like Burrow will go out there. He'll be a little bit more limited, but they got to right the ship. I think that the Bengals defense is pretty good. This Rams team has been, again, outperforming my expectations. I expect a regression to the mean at some point in time. I love the Puka Nacua story. I don't expect him to keep on putting up 12 to 15 catches per game, though. Sooner or later, they're going to start doubling this guy. And yeah, that's going to open other things up for Skoranek and Tutu Atwell and Van Jefferson. But I still don't think that they're that special of a team on offense. It was a bold take for me to say that they're going to only win 2 games this year. They've already won 50% of that, and it wasn't versus the Cardinals. So,
yeah,
the Rams team, I think we slept on them a little bit. Maybe they're getting some young players doing some good things, but I'm just going to take the Bengals money in line on this one because I feel a little bit better about it. I feel safer with it.
Okay. All
right. Well, that then jumps us back to Sunday, early morning Sunday for our team's games. First one up, we have the Titans and the Browns being played in Cleveland. The line is Browns -3.5, over under of 39.5.
I hate this game because we kind of prefaced it at the beginning of the show. The Browns have to win. They have to win pretty resounding by throwing the ball all over the yard. The Titans are one of the worst teams in the NFL about stopping the pass. Deshaun Watson has not shown that he is the Deshaun Watson of old. He has barely shown to be a starter for what he has done. The turnovers are way up. The pocket presence has not been there. And he holds the ball for a really long fucking time. But he's always held the ball for a really long fucking time. But the problem is now he is not as athletic as he used to be to escape the way he needs to when you're going to hold the ball for as long as he does. Deshaun has lost a step for sure. Anybody who's trying to say that Deshaun is going to go back to the old guy, I think at this point, you're being naive. You're trying to lie to yourself. You're drinking the copium to deal with the contract that we have and what the bed that we have made here in Cleveland. I do not like our chances. I do not think that this is going to go exactly the way we want, and I will be very excited if they prove me wrong. And I will gladly come back on here and say that I was completely wrong, and it's all going to work out. The Browns offense is going to be just fine with Deshaun Watson being the focal point of the offense, because that's what has to happen, but I have no faith that that's what is going to actually happen. I don't think that he can be the focal point. I don't think he's going to go out there and win you games at this point. The loss of Nick Chubb is massive for the organization. Nick may never play again. When I saw the injury, I was like, he's probably done. It's the second time on that knee, and this time it looks like it was worse.
Oh yeah. The first one was a hyperextension, but not like a fold up your knee to your chest hyperextension. This one was multiple directions. It was hyperextension and off to the side.
So
it was a rough one to watch.
Done. He's probably done. How do you replace what Nick Chubb means to this team, to this offense, You don't. You can try to recreate it, but there's nobody in the league that's going to be able to do that. You didn't have that combination of that speed, that size with his agility. Like it's not ever going to happen. I love bringing Kareem Hunt back because he knows the offense. It's going to be a nice little offset, but this offense is in deep shit. The tackles have not been great. Now, obviously, we lose Conklin, have a rookie in Jones, had good moments, had bad moments. He's going against TJ Watt. But on the other side, Jed Wills has been absolutely atrocious. He is a fucking turnstile out there at left tackle. And now we have a guy who holds the ball for a really long fucking time and turnstile tackles. It's not a winning recipe, and nobody is going to be afraid of Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. You're not going to get the same level of respect or even close to it as if you trot Nick Chubb back out on the field. This is not going to go well. I'm going to take the Titans plus the points. Because they are getting points, they're giving 3.5. If the Browns find a way to win this, it is not going to be a resounding slam dunk on the Titans. It'll be by a field goal. Give me the Titans plus the 3.5.
All right. Well, it was kind of surprising to me. I mean, last week, obviously, with the selection, but the Titans being able to get a win versus the Chargers, 27-24, was definitely surprising to me last week. Because this is a team where I hate the offense. Derrick Henry's good. Tyjae Spears, I still think is one of the most underrated second running backs out there in the league. And he's put up pretty solid numbers so far. Tyjae Spears running the ball, only 11 carries, but 76 yards. That's 6.9 yard average. He's also had a couple of receptions, but I like Tyjae Spears a lot. But as far as the rest of that offense, I think that they're crap. Like Ryan Tannehill has looked better than I would expect.
Hey,
but again,
D-Hop ran a great route to get open and fucking get him in the field goal range last week. That was fucking beautiful.
Sure. But I think that is playing above what they actually are. It's more of an indictment there on the Chargers team, but we'll get to that. And the Titans do have a stellar run defense. They're a very good run defense. Losing Chubb definitely hurts, but it would have been a tough running game regardless if he had been playing or not. Jerome Ford, I love. I think that he's fantastic. And bringing back Hunt is a very solid move because, again, he does know the team. He knows the players on the team. He can plug and play right away with that guy, and he's a good receiving option. I definitely hurt for the Browns in losing Chubb, but I think that
that was America's running back. Nick Chubb was America's running back. I don't think you could ask a single fan in the NFL if they disliked Nick Chubb. And if they did dislike Nick Chubb, that person was probably a fucking serial killer. Because Nick Chubb is like the most the nicest fucking guy, the most likable person, and he worked. All he did, went to work, and he fucking put his head down, didn't celebrate. Like he was Barry Sanders reincarnate, and now it's fucked. It's all fucked.
All right.
Sorry.
Well, real quick, looking here at the Browns running back depth chart, you have Jerome Ford, Kareem Hunt, and Pierre Strong Jr. All guys that I think are decent and play a good role. And what this does to me is you just went from a solo backfield with Nick Chubb being the guy to you have to adjust and be a platoon backfield, which is very doable in the modern NFL. And to have Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt, I feel good about that, honestly, as your 1 and 2. So I don't. It sounds bad, but I'm not seeing as major of a drop off from Chubb not being there. There's probably a drop off, but not like a insurmountable drop off. I got you guys winning this game, money line, Browns win. But I think it'll have to be a slog fest out there. I think this is going to be a low scoring game. I don't expect the Titans to put up points like they did last week. And I like your guys' defense against a offense that I'm not hyped about at all with the Titans. I will take the Browns money line on this one.
This is like a fucking 16-13 game.
very well could be.
Yes, ugly game. But
all right. And then last game here, we have the Chargers going into Minneapolis playing my Vikings. The line is currently Minnesota -1, over under of 54. This is a Vikings team that, again, I feel like should have won last week. They should have won week 1, and they somehow keep turning the ball over, an insane amount of turnovers. And to me, that is abnormal. So it's not going to continue. And obviously, it is going to be a focus when it happens 2 weeks in a row. In practice, it is going to be a focus. If the Vikings are able to cut those turnovers down, the offense looks fantastic as far as passing offense. Kirk Cousins is on pace to be over 6,000 passing yards this year. Not going to happen. But he is having a very good year despite the turnovers. And the turnovers, for the most part, haven't been his fault. It has been breakdowns on the right side of the offensive line, specifically the interior. And it has also been just weird, fluky shit happening. All right. The Vikings went out and signed Dalton Reisner this week, which I've been pounding the table for. You need to sign Dalton Reisner, and they went out and finally fucking did it. And he should be our starting right guard this week. If he isn't already, I think he will be by the end of the game. They also made a trade for Cam Akers to help out that backfield. I'm not a huge Cam Akers fan, but I cannot argue with the trade because I don't know if you saw the full compensation for it, but
it's a conditional 6th or some shit.
So we got Cam Akers and a conditional 7th round pick from the Rams in 2026. And we gave up a conditional 6th round pick in 2026. The conditions for those picks to actually be swapped is he has to get 500 yards this year. And I don't know if he will. So we're giving up.
So essentially got him for nothing.
We're giving up a 2026 pick 3 years in the future and a late round pick if he happens to get 500 yards this year. If he doesn't, it was basically a free swap. So I'm all for that. Maybe bringing in a little bit of diversity in the backfield. I mean, we've seen Cam Akers look very good. We've also seen Alexander Madison look very good in the past. So I think that the focus has just been so hardcore on the passing game, and they haven't had a necessity for the run game as much. Also, that offensive line has just looked terrible, especially on the interior. The run game doesn't concern me as much as just the turnovers and being able to block appropriately. And hopefully Reisner will come in there and be a fix for that. Defense, I'm really enjoying watching the Flores defense out there. It is scary sometimes for sure. The way that he is blitzing is fucking scary. He is sending a lot of dudes.
Dude, I texted you at one point and I was like, please stop. Because you guys were running cover 2 or you were blitzing everybody. That was it. There was nobody in at the back end at certain points.
You know what? It is such a stark difference from last year, and I'm loving it. Like it is super scary. I feel like I'm on a roller coaster when they're out there on defense because I'm like, holy shit, he's fucking sending everybody, or holy shit, he's blitzing so much, and it's a lot of fun to watch. It is going to give up some explosive plays, but it is fun to watch. This Chargers team, on the other hand, without Austin Eckler again, Josh Kelly on my bench, he had a bad week last week, but he was playing a super, super good run defense there with the Titans. I expect Kelly to probably have himself a pretty good day. Look, this Chargers team should be really fucking good. Like, they should be putting up a ton of offensive points. Their defense has a lot of good playmakers on it. Overall, I don't think they're great, but they got a lot of good playmakers on it, whether it's Bosa or I think Kendricks is possibly not playing this week. I know he didn't play last week in the middle. But they've got good players. There's no reason why the Chargers shouldn't be competitive, but they also aren't being competitive. I just think that, I don't know. I think it's a head coaching thing, like we've brought up in the past. I think Staley is a terrible head coach, especially when his defense isn't looking that great. Austin Eckler if Austin Eckler is playing, I'm picking the Chargers because Eckler is a game changer out there on offense for him, but he's not playing. The Vikings, if they are able to fix these turnover issues, they can go toe-to-toe, I think, with almost any team in the league. Yeah, the defense isn't going to be great. We might have a great run game, but the pass game has looked great. Justin Jefferson has looked fantastic. I think Justin Jefferson gets 2 touchdowns this week after not having any touchdowns so far. He's still going to put up over 100 yards. I'm going to take the Vikings. I'm going to take the money line on this one. I'm not going to drop any points because God knows we love to play close games. This one over under of 54, I could see going over as well. It could be a close one score game, but I think the Vikings will eke it out. They'll start to right the ship. And if that happens, I think Brandon Staley should be fired. And I think that Kellen Moore should be elevated to head coach of that team because he was getting looked at as a head coach possibility about 2 years ago, him and Byron Leftwich. You might as well go with the young gun and see if he can try to turn things around for your team. But I think Brandon Staley is not long for the tooth in this league as a head coach. On the flip side, if the Vikings were to lose and go 0-3, then we are going to be having to have conversations about what does this team want to do going forward. Do we want to consider the tank? Do we want to move Kirk Cousins? Now, the problem is that Kirk Cousins does have a no trade clause. He's going to have to agree to go somewhere, but the team has already basically said, hey, we're probably moving on from you next year. We didn't re-sign him this offseason, despite him giving us a cheap offer. I don't know. It might be in his best interest to go and try to win somewhere else, like a Jets team. I don't think Kirk will agree to it. I don't think the Vikings front office will agree to it either, because realistically, this team could be 2-0 right now if it wasn't for those turnovers.
I absolutely agree. And I got you guys in this game as well. I'm going to go money line as well because you guys always play close games, and it seems like the Chargers always play really close games. It's very rare that we see the Chargers get blown out or we see them blow other people out. They play very close games, typically very high scoring. So with 1 point, I'm not gonna do any of that or give up any points. But they always the Chargers always seem to find a way to lose those games. Like every time we're talking about a close Chargers game, Staley has done something that just doesn't make any goddamn sense. And then they end up losing, or they'll give up a massive fucking lead. Whereas you guys have shot yourself in the foot with turnovers. You're not playing bad. You are playing bad because of the turnovers. You're not being outcoached, though. You're not going to mess up a critical situation at an important point of the game. But I am almost always certain that when it gets down to the end of a game, the Chargers are about to make a really bad coaching decision at some fucking point. I like the addition of Akers. I think Akers has the ability to be a competent contributor in a backfield. I don't think he's a primary back like I once thought a couple of years ago. But
he won't be playing this game, by the way. He's going to be inactive.
Okay. Inactive. So I guess that's really not a factor. I have not liked what you've done with the run game. I don't think that Alexander Madison, though, has been his normal self. He is not the guy that goes out there and gets fucking 7 yards and a fumble on 4 carries. His line was so atrocious, I don't even remember what it was. It was so bad.
I don't think he's 5.4 fantasy points.
I think he had catches.
It wasn't great.
Yeah, he had catches. Yeah, I gotta believe that you guys are not going to be this turnover prone. Oh, Jesus Christ. Roberto Gussolini. See, and this is why Cam Akers is better than
Adrian Peterson.
No, I'm just trying to think of who Cam Akers is better than. Just instantly comes. Oh, Najee Harris. Oh, yeah. Trent Richardson 2.0. Like I said, Najee Harris. I think that you guys are a better team. You guys should win this game. I'm not going to drop the point, and I'm excited to see the way the Chargers find a way to lose this thing, because that's what they always seem to do.
Well, cool, man. All right, well, that wraps up our games for the week. We will make sure to put out that list on social media, so if you want to bet along with us or you like any of our takes, you'll be able to see what we are going to be shooting for this week as far as our lines and our bets.
Hell yeah. Uh-oh. We got more comments coming in here now.
Of course.
You gotta feel like Cam Akers has a better shot, right? Jalen Reagor's already gone. He didn't do anything.
Yeah, he's a Patriot now. And Jalen Reagor looked good this preseason, but he hasn't done anything for us in the regular season, and that's why he's not on the squad. Cam Akers absolutely could come in and be a competent back in this platoon system. So I'm going to go with Cam Akers.
Agreed, Cam Akers. But I got nothing else for today's show. You got anything else?
No, sir. I got to go take a piss, get some food in me, and then get out to this fair.
Okay, I'm gonna go eat. So we made homemade ramen because everybody's fucking sick. So I'm gonna go eat that and lay on the couch and go to sleep. But guys, this is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike. That is Evo. We come to you guys every week. We're on YouTube. Go ahead, like, subscribe, hit the bell, get all the notifications every time we go live. If you want to interact with the show, head over to the Facebook. We got a group, and Twitter at Lineman Lounge. We got Instagram, TikTok, Threads. We got all of the social medias. And then if you just want to listen to our show, go to any podcast platform. We're on there as well. But we thank you. We appreciate you. We're going to get the fuck out of here. And see you.